Hey, Mac.
Hey, how's it
How's it
going?
going?
Well, do we even have anything to talk about? I feel like there's nothing going on in the world of Marvel right now.
Oh my gosh. Today, I can't even tell you um, what's happening. Um, but I can tell you that there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
We
that's
can't
not.
talk about a lot of it today, but I promise you that we're working on it behind the scenes. And for that reason, I didn't read the comics this week. I
Yeah.
will, and I'll give my pick for this week next week. But
Oh, I want, as we go through them, I want your pick today. I want to know what your prediction's going to be.
okay, fair enough. But you got to give me like the little. I got to hear your analysis first.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's jump into them here. And there's a little thing going on Krakoa that we might have mentioned recently called the Hellfire Gala. And that really kicked off this week. Finally, I feel like we've been looking forward to it for a while. So we start off with Marauders, number 21 here. And right off the bat, actually, I'll just say this is my pick of the week. And this is because it introduces the Hellfire Gala and we get to see the extravagance of this whole event. And I got to be honest, it's so cool. It's way cooler than I thought it would be. I'm enjoying this a lot more than I thought. Just seeing all these characters there. Yeah, me too. I didn't expect. So one, I mean, you get all these characters and they're actually dressed up for this like red carpet type of event, and so just seeing characters in a different look is always fun. But also characters that don't normally interact getting together, and it's a lot of fun seeing those sorts of those dynamics. The non-mutant characters that are invited to the Hellfire Gala, I will say, are a bit underdressed, and you'll see when you pick up this issue. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun seeing so many of these characters together for something other than a fight too. It's not your typical comic book for sure.
I'm impressed because I thought, I mean, we went through Ten of Swords together, and we talked about our struggles with the X franchise. So having the Hellfire Gala be your pick of the week is impressive to me. I'm excited now.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting this week too because all three of the X comics that we picked out, they're all dealing with the Hellfire Gala and kind of just looking at it from different angles. And so the second issue that we'll talk about this week is X-Force. This is X-Force number 20. And this is basically looking at the security detail, which X-Force is tasked with for the Hellfire Gala. And this is also a lot of fun. Again, just seeing this whole event from a different angle. These comics blend very well together. I know sometimes we get tie-ins and, on the same day, and they kind of cross paths, but they don't exactly match up. There are a couple of panels that are just word for word taken from one comic to the next, which is really impressive when you're talking about different creative teams working on these comics. So it's cool to see, and I mean, literally seeing the same panel from different angles. So that's a lot of fun. Also, this one, let's just say some characters weren't invited to the Hellfire Gala that felt like they should have been. And, well, Wade Wilson has some issues in this one, so that's always fun. This is the one of the 3 X titles that did, of course, throw me for a loop a little bit. There is a little bit of confusion going on here that I'm sure if I had read every X title over the last couple of months, I would know what was going on. But that's a lot of titles to read, and we read a lot of other titles. So there's definitely some context needed for this, but I'm sure things will straighten out as we move on with the Hellfire Gala.
Cool.
And our third X title and the final look at the Hellfire Gala this week is the Hellions, which we've read a decent amount of recently. And I mean, I've said it before, I love Sinister and this team. They're so ridiculous. Sinister is just one of the funniest characters going right now. And this book was absolutely hilarious. I laughed out loud several times while reading this. This is just a bunch of party crashers that just don't belong and don't fit in with the high society of the Hellfire Gala. And so, I mean, you can put that story together in your own mind. A bunch of super powered party crashers. And this also introduces the idea of telepath fireworks, which is so awesome, and I can't wait for that to work its way into the park somehow. So I really want to see how this all plays out, all of the Hellfire Gala as a whole, but also Hellions was really interesting, and sets up some things for their team going forward. So I'm excited to see that as well. So before we move on to the other two titles, what are your thoughts on the Hellfire Gala now? Just that I ran through.
Shocked. I can't wait now. I thought it was going to be another Ten of Swords, but it sounds like it's not.
Yeah, no, it's been. I mean, granted, this is the first day. Things can take crazy turns, and they kind of already did with X-Force. But it's a very fun, interesting setup, and I'm really liking it so far.
I'm excited. Can't wait to it be not tonight, and I can read it.
So our next title, we had an Iron Man annual. So Iron Man annual #1, even though this is far from the first Iron Man annual. And this is setting up Infinite Destinies, which we've talked about, which I feel like we've been talking about for a long time and just still feels so far off at this point. But this was an interesting title that teams Iron Man with Miles Morales, which is a team up we don't get to see very often. So, and we actually kind of get not closure, but a continuation of the Miles Morales story that kind of feels like it was dumped in favor of the clone saga that's going on right now. So it was nice to get that picked up and continued on. So it's also just interesting seeing Tony pick up that mantle and basically fight on behalf of Miles Morales, who again we don't see those two mesh very often. So it was cool to see that. This Infinite Destinies setup is introducing some very interesting concepts for the Infinity Stones. And there's I mean, literally like a chart on how the Infinity Stones work in this issue. And it's really interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing what this all plays out to, because it changes the way you think of the Infinity Stones, really. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm excited because, I mean, I always thought long before Marvel's The Avengers, I was always fascinated by the Infinity Stones, Infinity Gems as they were.
Right.
I'm just, this is like my most anticipated book of the week. Your Hellfire Gala review made me question this, but like if I had to look at the slate and I'd say, oh, this is the one I'm most looking forward to. So I'm curious to see how it plays out.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And this was one that I was definitely looking forward to as well. Quantum is a very interesting character, and I like what they did with him here. There's definitely a future for him. What it entails, I have no idea, because who knows where they're going to go when the Infinity Stones are involved. But it's also a classic Iron Man story. It's Tony dealing with tech-powered villains and letting his own ego and narcissism get in his way at times. And so if you're a big Iron Man fan, it's definitely a fun issue, but also ties into something much bigger going forward. So I definitely like this one. This is a really strong lineup this week.
Okay. And then
one more. Yeah, Heroes Reborn continues with #5 this week, and this was Nighthawk focused this week. And this story is very interesting. So we talked about a little bit with Hyperion in a few issues back, and how he's basically the Superman here, and Nighthawk is 100% Batman. Like it's they've got this DC flavor to this story going on here, and Nighthawk's story, interestingly, is a mix of Batman and Spider-Man. Like it's just a blend of those two characters, and it's really fun and interesting. We get to see different versions of Spider-Man's villains, and it's a dark story. It's an action-packed story, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what this character brings to the table going forward, because as we left off last week, as things were starting to piece together for these characters, that the world might not be what it's supposed to be right now. Things are starting to get more serious on that front. And our team of our world, our 616 heroes, is growing a little bit. I'll say that. So it's something interesting for sure.
Okay. I'm excited.
So what do you think? Hellfire Gala is now pick of the week that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I guess so. You've won me over.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
now I can't wait. Okay, I'll be back next week. We'll talk about next week's comics, but I'll give my cliff notes on my pick of the week from this week. But
well, next week's going to be a whole other beast that we'll have to talk about a little bit at the end here. But yeah, we'll definitely have some comics.
What are you talking about? Next Wednesday will be fine. Okay, so as we mentioned before, a lot going on. Across, I would say, everything that Marvel's involved in. But there's one thing we can actually talk about, and that's some of the big comic news, right?
Yeah. So just before, I guess about an hour before we came on live, we learned that two of the hottest writers going right now are flopping their stories. Al Ewing will be taking over Venom, and Donny Cates will be taking over the Hulk. So that's an interesting trade-off. You wonder, like, why was it something that each of those writers wanted? I'm very curious about what the dynamic of that was.
Well, I feel like they're both ending. Like Al Ewing's been doing Immortal Hulk for a while, and I feel like that's wrapping up. Obviously, Venom wrapped up sort of with King in Black. So it'd be neat to see writers that took characters and gave them their unique twist. I mean, I would say they're not conventional stories for those characters. Makes me excited, and they both fit though. Like you could totally see Donny Cates doing Hulk, and you could totally see Al Ewing doing Venom. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with the where we left off with Venom. It's set up for such an Al Ewing story going forward. And yeah, I could definitely see it going the opposite way with Hulk too, because I mean, Donny Cates has a way of making things dark and crazy. So I think we can definitely get that in a Hulk story for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But on the merchandise side, we had a Hasbro Fan First Thursday. Remember when those used to be on Fridays?
Right. Yeah, we had a Fan First Friday on a Thursday. And we pull up the images here. Lots of very interesting new figures. I didn't get to cover this one. I was off doing something else, and Becca, one half of Barely Necessities, did a great job covering this for us. As we get to see a Spider-Man 2099. Right? Yeah, so we had X-Men Age of Apocalypse. You can see Spider-Man 2099 here. But yeah, the big line that they announced was this X-Men Age of Apocalypse with this really awesome Colossus Build-A-Figure. One of the most interesting things, I mean, so with the Age of Apocalypse storyline, they had some different looks to some of the characters. So you see Magneto with his crazy hair here. We got Rogue, Cyclops. We have a very unique Sabretooth. I want to get to this Iceman figure is really cool. Very different from our typical Iceman. Here we go. Legion is not a figure that we see very often. So this was exciting, especially with that tall, crazy hair. So another fun, different figure you can add to your collection there.
That's very cool.
And then on the merchandise front as well, we also got a look at some Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings Funko figures. And you can see some of those figures here. We got, let me see here. We got Shang-Chi, Great Protector, Dragon Warrior, a different Shang-Chi, Katie, Razor Fist, sorry for the pronunciation, Jia Ling, I believe, and then Wenwu as well. And then we had some store exclusives as well. Another Shang-Chi, the Death Dealer, and then another Wenwu as well, and a couple keychains. So before that movie comes out, you can start collecting and adding to your Funko Pop collection.
Speaking of movies, late last night we got word that Thor: Love and Thunder has wrapped filming, with a look at director Taika Waititi, and I believe that man is Thor himself, Chris Hemsworth. Not
pretty unmistakable, right? Pretty unmistakable. I don't think you can.
Ryder Smulders.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait for this movie. I mean, Ragnarok is still one of my favorites in the MCU, and I'm sure they're going to have even up the ante from that in this next one. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And what is the May 6th, 2022 is the date for Thor: Love and Thunder as of right now. I mean, who knows going forward, but
yeah, only in theaters, maybe.
Right.
I'm going to mention this briefly just because that's all it really deserves. They did move some untitled Marvel movies around the release schedule. Don't get too excited. They pick release dates just to mark them and then, figure out what happens. So you're going to see weird headlines like Disney moves 2 Marvel movies, but it's nothing you've heard of, nothing's been announced. So it's just more about, being more realistic about the schedule as they move ahead. So don't overthink it. But we did get word that Okoye is going to be returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, she'll be coming back for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, so the sequel, and then as well as that Wakanda-focused series that we learned about for Disney Plus. We don't know too much about either one right now, but we don't know that Denai Guerrera will be returning to play Okoye, and I'd be interested to know if she's going to have a very big role, especially maybe in this Disney Plus series, given what we know about where they're going with Wakanda, which is very little really. So I'll be interested to see if she's maybe even the focus of one of these 2 projects.
Yeah, and I'm sure we will talk about that more at our next broadcast, whenever that may be. So I do want to say, sticking with the Marvel Cinematic, we've been excited for Secret Invasion, and Chris McDonald has joined the cast.
Yeah, Shooter McGavin himself will be showing up in Secret Invasion. I love it. I mean, they keep adding to this cast, and I just keep getting more and more excited for this. I love too that even if they told us who he was playing, we don't know. We don't know who they're playing. We don't know anything about who anybody's going to be in this series, and I love it. And I said it last time too when we talked about Secret Invasion, but I don't think people who are just fans of the MCU and not so much the comics, I don't think people are ready for what this is going to be, and I think it's going to blow a lot of people's minds.
Okay, so this next one hurts my head a little bit just because. Okay, so Aaron Taylor Johnson in Godzilla was married to a character played by Elizabeth Olsen. Then they do Age of Ultron, where they play brother and sister. Ew. And then
if they were in Game of Thrones, it would have been the same thing.
What's that?
I said if they were in Game of Thrones, it would have been the same thing.
So it's his sister. So then he's playing Quicksilver, but in the X-Men movies, Quicksilver is played by a different actor. And then in WandaVision, Pietro Quicksilver comes back, but is played by the other actor. And now Aaron Taylor Johnson is going to be playing a different Marvel character, not in the MCU as we know it.
Right.
So what's happening here?
I think you explained pretty much what we've got. Aaron Taylor Johnson is playing Kraven the Hunter in a Kraven the Hunter movie, which is not something I'm sure we really need or wanted, but I mean, I guess it's exciting that Sony is still giving us Spider-Man adjacent movies. It's so strange to try and figure this all out because Tom Holland is technically Sony's Spider-Man, and he is both in the MCU and not in the MCU. And then you've got things like Venom, which is not in the MCU, and I would assume this will be the same thing there. So yeah, it's a little bit of a headache to try and sort through, but I mean, Aaron Taylor Johnson's a good actor. I've enjoyed him in several things, including his role as Pietro. Kraven is not a character I would have pictured him playing, but I'm not going to doubt his ability. So I guess we'll see where that goes. And if this leads to anything bigger.
If he needs to drop out, I could suggest Evan Peters as like his replacement.
Exactly. Yeah.
So weird. Okay, what else do you want to talk about?
Well, I think that is all of our news for this week. We do. I mean, like I said, too, I was joking earlier that there's not enough going on in the world of Marvel, so there's like nothing really for us to talk about. But that was 100% sarcasm, because just yesterday we also got the debut of the Marvel's Wastelanders Old Man Star-Lord podcast, which I'm not sure if you've gotten a chance to check out yet. Their first 2 episodes are up right now, wherever you listen to your podcasts, and they're very, very fun. Old Star-Lord and old Rocket working together, and long after all the other heroes have died, and Doom is running the world, and it's a crazy fun story and very funny too. So I recommend you check that out. On top of that, we also had the debut of Gamora and Nebula Sisters in Arms, which is also fantastic. I've really enjoyed this book, and we'll have a review for that coming up on laughingplace.com pretty soon. I mean, as long as my schedule allows, because like I said, there's a lot of Marvel stuff going on, which brings us, and that book is available right now as well. So, but that brings us to what else we have going on tonight.
So at 8:15, Disney Parks blog will be live streaming the opening ceremony from Avengers Campus. Because of social distancing, not a lot of media is going to be there, if any. So, they're going to live stream it so we can all be there virtually. After that, we will go live to talk about what happened and give our take. I can't say much, but I will say you might want to tune in. After the Disney Parks live stream, hop on over to us. And we will share thoughts.
I can't wait. I can't wait to. This is going to be the reverse of what we did for this year, because I'm going to be sharing my thoughts based off of your thoughts.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, not that I necessarily know anything, but
right.
We may have thoughts.
Yeah.
So join us after, and even before 8:15, I'd be following us on Laughing Place. Start following us this evening.
Yeah, and so this was our 50th issue, by the way. This was our big. Seriously? Yeah, we hit, and yeah, I guess I should have probably put this up here a little bit earlier, but there we go. Yeah, I would need like a little party popper kind of thing, but another 50, and we'll celebrate the big one, I guess.
With a double-sized annual.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of double-sized, our show will be changing up a little bit next week.
Yeah, so with Loki coming on board, we're going to be taking the old Marvel Monday and Marvel Time and merging them together, I'm trying to think of two characters. Every character I come up with who has that is like Firestorm is like DC.
Right.
Like Bruce Banner and the Hulk coming together. And we will be talking about Loki, as well as the comics that have come out that week, as well as anything else that might be happening in a theme park or so. So we'll be doing one mega Marvel show, extra sized. Just going to charge an extra $1 to watch it. Just kidding. But we'll do that every Wednesday on New Comic Book Release Day for the foreseeable future. Yeah,
no, we won't be adding an extra $1, but we will double the cost.
It will now be extra free.
Right.
So, as I said, stay with us all night. Back tomorrow, and then Avengers Campus opens on Friday, and we'll be there. So stick with us on Friday. And then you might want to follow our Twitter on Sunday. And you might want to visit us Tuesday morning. If you're Marvel fans, I'd mark your calendars.
Yeah, basically just go ahead and subscribe, follow, do all of those things for all of the social medias, for all of the reasons, just to be safe.
Hey, well, thanks, Mac. I'll let you go because we got to get ready for the big show tonight. Okay?
Yeah. All right. We'll see y'all later.
Bye, everybody.